Hey, Doug Upstone here for Vegas Pro Insiders Daily, and today's Friday, the, 20th, I think it is, of October? So, something like that. And we're ready to talk some college football. Got a lot to cover, have a ton of free picks for you, a plethora, if you will, of free picks. So we're going to go through that process, and we're going to do it the same as we do it every week. We're going to cover some of the latest line moves and give you the free picks on those and with some explanation. And we're also going to cover the ones that we talked about on Tuesday and give you the updates on those, see where we are, and give you free picks on those. So a whole bunch of those. And speaking of a whole bunch, hey, how about becoming a Vegas Pro Insiders Daily Inner Circle member? You're going to get a whole bunch of winners from guys like myself, Sean Higgs, Jim Mack, Kyle Hunter, and Dennis Macklin. I mean, you're going to get a whole bunch of those. And plus you're going to get in-season systems, super systems, okay? I just put out this today to the VPID members, all the latest stuff I have in it. There's some incredible systems that are out there. Plus, you're going to get wise guy plays. You're going to get the top trends that relate to a lot of the key games, the best ones. All of that for $99 a month. Total. That's it. Okay, so check that out, VegasProInsidersDaily.com. Go to the website, right-hand side of the page, gray boxes. You'll see them. Click which one you like there. Get after it, my friends. Big weekend ahead. Got lots of winners coming your way. Hey, let's start talking about some college football, shall we? And we'll start with Akron and Toledo. Now, these are two of the three remaining unbeaten teams in the MAC at the present time. And so this somewhat interesting matchup. The public is definitely on Toledo, taking them from minus 14 to minus 17. Toledo, strong club, the favorite to win the conference coming into the season. Akron is in the other division, in the East Division, which is extremely weak. But you know what? Hey, Akron every week shows up, plays hard, okay, for Terry Bowden. So he's doing a really good job, but when you look at this game, there's just more talent, more ability on the side of Toledo with the Rockets. I think the Rockets are the play here. 82% of the people are also on Toledo at this time. Our next game is an interesting one, at least to me personally. Wake Forest is at Georgia Tech. And sharps and the public alike are all over Wake Forest on this one, taking them from plus 8.5 all the way down to plus 5. Now, the Yellow Jackets come into this game having blown their second fourth quarter lead of the season, losing to Miami of Florida last week, 25-24. It's got to hurt. So, the question is, does that have a carryover effect? Does one loss turn into two for them? Or are they mad? Okay, they fired up. They're going to come out and play hard, okay, and try and take it to Wake Forest. In this one, I don't agree with where the public is or where anybody's taking this game. I think this is the wrong side. I think that there's now, I think there's pretty good value on Georgia Tech. The thing about it is Wake Forest is very good defensively, doing a nice job, but they have not faced the Georgia Tech option offense since 2010. That's a long time to not. I'm not saying they haven't played some option teams in between, but when you play someone like Georgia Tech who has that much speed, okay, that's a big factor. And Wake Forest's offense the last couple weeks has been going down a little bit, and Georgia Tech's defense is number 15 in the country. I like Georgia Tech in this spot. Next, we're going to go to arguably the biggest game of the day, USC and Notre Dame, going to be on NBC Saturday night. In this one, the total has really skyrocketed, going from 60 to 65, so huge move. Now, I think the thinking here is the USC Sam Darnold should have quite a bit of success against a so-so secondary from Notre Dame. It's okay, but it's made a lot worse unless they get a pass rush, that's for sure. So that's going to be a key factor, and I think that's part of the driving force. And nobody has slowed the Notre Dame rushing attack or offense in general other than Georgia, who, as it turns out, is one of the best defensives in the country. And you know what? USC is not. Okay, so that being the case, I think, though, this is an overreaction on this total. I think the original number of 60 makes a lot more sense than 65. I think both defenses can do enough to keep it, into a lower score. I see both teams, 27, 24, somewheres, maybe in that range, maybe even as high as the upper 50s, but I can't see 65 whatsoever. So I'm definitely going to be on the under. Interesting to note, 91% of the bettors are on the under, so that means there's been some sharp money coming in on the over, which has driven this up. Fresno State is against San Diego State on the CBS Sports Network on a late game, depending if you live on the East Coast. Now, San Diego State looked like they were on sabbatical last week. For Boise State, they fell quickly, down 14-0. They just didn't look engaged in any way to play that game, and they got hammered, 31-14. Now, football bettors are not convinced that the Aztecs are going to be ready to roll again and pick up the pieces, even though they're playing at home against Fresno State. And Fresno State has dropped 4 points down to +7.5. Now, Fresno State is enjoying a big turnaround under former Cal coach Jeff Tedford. A lot more discipline involved with this team, a lot more organization. In this one, though, I really liked Fresno State when they were above obviously an opening number of 10.5, and even anything at 10 or above. Now to me it's just more of a lean. That's not many points. You can get caught on an 8, or anything like that. So I'm just going to lean with Fresno State on this one, and I think 72% of the betting public is on San Diego State. All right, so that covers our 4 games, new ones that we have. So let's go back and review some of the other games that we talked about in the video here on Tuesday. First up, we have SMU and Cincinnati. Now that game went from SMU -7 up to -9, but it's come back to 7.5 on this one. And I think the key reason is what's the quarterback's name? Hayden Moore. That's his name. Hayden Moore of Cincinnati was listed as probable or as questionable. He's been moved up to probable, so I think that's the driving force behind the line. But you know what? Doesn't matter. I like the ponies originally. I still like them -7.5. I think SMU gets the call here on this one. Another conference that has just a few teams that haven't lost is going to be North Texas and Florida Atlantic in the Conference USA. Now, this line is unchanged from the other day, where North Texas went from +6 down to +3.5. Hasn't budged at all. Not overwhelming play, but I look at North Texas, and I mentioned this the other day. They have a very diverse offense, so I think that's a big positive. Florida Atlantic has trouble stopping the run. Conversely, North Texas does a really good job. I shouldn't say really good. They do a much better job than what the Owls do stopping the run. So I don't mind taking the 3.5 here. There could be an outright upset. Again, I'd kind of prefer the 6 a little bit more, but that's not in the card. So got to go with what there is, right? So we'll take North Texas +3.5. Got an addition to one that we talked about the other day, which is Syracuse and Miami, which is going to be on ESPN in the middle of the afternoon. This total went from 55 to 58, and it keeps going. It's all the way up to 59.5. And the other element that's come into play here is the bettors are on, or I should say enough bettors are on Miami to move them from -14 all the way up to -17 or even 17.5. I saw just before starting to do this video. As I mentioned the other day, Syracuse is playing unders 6-1. In conference play, Miami's 3-0 under. I'm not sure that this is going to be an over game. So the total rising, I'm going to disagree with. I'm going to go with the under. And the same thing, Miami could just blow out Syracuse, who might be celebrating too much after beating Clemson. But Syracuse has been hanging around against everybody. So I don't mind taking the points here with the 17.5. Would just be a lean for me on that one. But I definitely like the under more, in terms of the 2 games. So that's the play on that. The other big game is going to be on ABC, Michigan and Penn State. A lot of juice on this one. Penn State went from -12.5 down to -9.5 against Michigan. Everybody's looking at the Michigan defense, which is tremendous. I have to agree. They've held all 6 opponents that they faced to season lows in yardage gained when they faced Michigan. So I understand that makes perfect sense. The line went to 10 briefly, but has been basically since Wednesday at 9.5. I like Penn State here. I know revenge isn't always a big deal, but I think you can make a case when it comes true it is, but otherwise it's not necessarily a big deal. Plenty of teams lose in revenge situations. But I think Penn State really wants this one. And the other thing I think that's going to be a contributing factor is the inconsistency of the Michigan offense against Penn State's defense. And I think they're going to be a mistake or two made by them that Penn State can just turn right around. And I think they'll end up getting getting points off of that. Let's call them relatively cheap points. Okay, and I think that's why they'll cover the 9.5 on that. Southern Mississippi is at Louisiana Tech, and this is a big game for both teams because they cannot afford to lose with North Texas leading their particular division in Conference USA. This line went, Louisiana Tech was a 3-point favorite, went down to 1.5. There's been a buyback to 2.5. So Louisiana Tech's a 2.5-point favorite. And it's been a pretty significant move because when we talked about this the other day, 67% of the people were on Southern Mississippi. That is now down to 25% on that. But you know what? I like Southern Mississippi. I think their offense is better. I think they're a little bit stronger defensively. I think they're gonna. I'll take the 2.5 of this. And I'll call for them to win this game outright. Finally, Arizona and California. A flip on this one, always one of my favorite things to talk about. Arizona was an underdog, got flipped to a -3-point favorite. Kind of seems like a lot, but when you break down the teams and look at the stats and look at the numbers and the strengths and weaknesses, it's justified. Arizona should be favored, and I'm gonna go with them. I think they're the better team overall. Can California win this game? Absolutely they can. That's why it's not a big play for me. I'm just throwing it out there for you. You can decide how you think you should make that play. That's what I have for today. As I mentioned, I keep mentioning every week, check out the website, Vegas Pro Insider Daily. It's up there right now. I got it posted where the public is, okay, in terms of their picks, and the public's doing very well in college football in terms of looking at the top bets, most bets placed on certain teams. 22, 11, and 2 so far this season. So check that out at the website. So hey, Doug Upstone here for Vegas Pro Insiders Daily, and even though I don't drink Bud Light, I still think, dilly dilly, I'm out.